Good.
Oh my God. I wanted to hit 150 by the end of the year.
Oh, right. I'm live now. Hello, friends. I was like, I went live and I was like, I'm gonna go post this to Blue Sky, and then I completely forgot that I'd pushed the go live button. So, anyways, that first minute of silence, we'll just do a moment of silence for my ability to pay attention. How about that? Welcome in, everybody. Hope you are all doing well. I am very happy to see you here. It's been, we're busy out here, y'all. What's going on? How is everybody? Let's see. Just throwing this link up in a handful of places. Let me throw it up in the content feed on the Discord. Okay, all right. I think that's about all I'm gonna do. So, how are you? What's going on? What you been up to? What's everybody doing? What's life like? Get back to the window where I can actually see what y'all are saying. Okay, what's going on? Yeah, V2 or bust. Absolutely, we're gonna do it today. Well, we'll see. Today we're gonna get to the point where I can confidently put the try the new experience banner up. We're gonna see that. Am I quitting YouTube? Oh, last month. No, not that. Missing the 4-hour dev series. I just put up a new one. We have got a new, let's see, let me get the actual link here. /WDC Season 1, Episode 8. That one just went live. It was super fun. We got some really good episodes out of this, or some good like moments out of this one. Can share my screen for a second. But yeah, this was such a good episode. So many good like fun moments in here. We used so Google Gemini was the sponsor. Had an absolute blast putting it together. Like, got to work with Brian Holt, who I've known for a long time. I got to work with Zayo, who I've worked with before. Zayo was on the original version of this show when it was remote, the 4Devs 1 app. And then I got to work with Sarah, who goes by Bad Cop online, and Sarah is like legit hilarious. Does a lot of live streaming, built her entire website in Bash, like just a great episode all around. I don't bother, like my app was when I saw what everybody else built, I felt pretty bad about what I built. I was like, oh no, I got outclassed this time, but it was still fun. We had a lot of good times. What's up, Daniel? How you doing? What's going on, Centil? Alex, good to see you. Yes, Sarah was fantastic on the show. But okay, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the plan for today, because I did like a sad post about this yesterday, where I'm feeling I have a lot of projects that are in the heavy flux mode right now, where I have we're about to do this game show, which if you haven't looked at this yet, I have. So let me open it up over here. I have a game show going on, or ramping up, I should say, and this is going to be at /lead/heat/apply. So if you would like to be part of this game show, you can go to this URL here on the screen, lwj.dev/leet/heat/apply. And we're going to be doing a trivia show, basically. It's kind of a blend of Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and Hot Ones, web dev stuff. You're going to get questions about the full spectrum of full stack web development. If you get answers wrong, you are going to be at risk of having to eat something spicy, and the more times you get things wrong, the spicier the thing will become. So, you should be on that. It's going to be a good time. If you didn't have acid reflux, you'd be so down for this. Yeah, I think what I would do is I'll have options for like vegan. Well, I think vegan. I got to check the sauces themselves to make sure they're vegan, but like it doesn't have to be meat. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is this is going to make hopefully Angie Jones very proud. I'm going to get an air fryer in the studio, and we'll make. I was thinking it would be extremely funny if the thing that you had to eat was dinosaur nuggies. So we might do like dinosaur nuggies, and then maybe cauliflower or a something. But the way that we're gonna do it, because we can't have people like touching their faces and stuff after they've touched hot sauce, is we're gonna do like a toothpick bite. So you'll get a little tray with a toothpick, and you're gonna eat that. So that's the idea. Only make it halfway through hot ones. So I'm gonna do my best to calibrate this properly, because the goal isn't to like hurt people, right? Like I don't want people to regret having been part of this. Yeah. Cooked by dubious restaurants. Okay, what I just said about not hurting people. Air fryer. Shocked I don't already have an air fryer. Okay, so okay. Don't tell Angie I said this, because I know that Angie Jones loves an air fryer. But I have a convection oven, which is basically an air fryer that works for lots of things, and it can fit more stuff in it. So I've never felt the urge to get an air fryer, because it just feels like paying extra for a smaller, less capable convection oven. Oh my God, my phone just went off. That's not Angie, is it? Okay, all right. Can somebody clip that? Just, oh my God. I felt real fear for a moment there. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So let's hurt people. Nah, we don't want to hurt people. I mean, we'll like, I want it to be challenging, but I don't want it to be, like, again, I don't want people to regret being on the show. So we're going to go spicy, but like probably not, I need to actually get like the bomb and the last dab from Hot Ones and try them to get a sense of how spicy they are. Because I got a hot sauce from Todd Libby, who I don't know if Todd's in the chat today, but what's up, Todd? And it's called the Three Kings. It's a let me see if I can find this quickly. Three Kings hot sauce. This one, right? And so this is a very spicy hot sauce. But what I don't know is if it has like a Scoville level or whatever. But these three peppers are extremely spicy peppers. So we got this as a gift from Todd. And I actually did this on stream. If you go somewhere way back in the archive, you can find the video of me eating this pepper. It wasn't that bad. And so I think here's what happened. When I was younger, about 10 years ago, Marissa and I went and spent a little under a year in Thailand. And while we were there, we were eating at the local food stalls and stuff. And most of them, when they see that you're not local, they will dial the spice level way back because it would kill us, right? But without knowing about it, we ended up going to one that she made, the woman who ran this cart made it exactly one way. And there were no substitutions, no alterations. She did not care who you were. You got it the way she made it. And it was like blow the back of your head off spicy, right? And the first time we ate this, we thought we were gonna die. But we looked around and we saw that like all of the locals were also kind of sweaty and hurting. So we were like, okay, so this is like spicy, right? And so I think because we were afraid to not eat the food, we kind of like forced our way through it. It wasn't pleasant. It hurt. We were suffering that day. But by the end of that I think it was like 9 months total, that it ended up being like a regular cart for us. We'd go there fairly regularly, and it didn't hurt the way that it did the first time. We'd kind of adjusted our spice tolerance had gone way up. And so when now that we're back in the US, like stuff that gets considered spicy here isn't like, it doesn't hit the same way that I remember it hitting before we spent that time in Thailand. And as a result, I don't know what too spicy is for like a US based person. Because I moved the window for me of like what spicy is and isn't. Which is, you know, maybe that's part of the fun is like, I'll just eat it straight faced looking at the person right along with them. And we'll see. But yeah, I do think it could be kind of fun to switch it up for people who can't do spicy. Maybe we do a sour challenge, things like that. Look, there are a few people in this industry that I am more afraid of disappointing than Angie Jones. She is she's incredible, and being on her bad side, I imagine, I've never done it. I don't want to find out, but I imagine it's not great. So let's see. So quick lunches, kids not waiting 10 minutes for the oven to warm up. Okay, all right, that's fair. I get that. Stoked to see your app. Thank you, Charles. Let's see. Thai chili. I mean, yes, like all of them, right? Last Dab at least has flavor. The bomb is just hot for the sake of hot. That's, you know, I've heard of that. Like, and every time you watch the show, that seems to be what everybody says is, yeah, it's unpleasant. It's like hot and tastes bad. Yeah, not my favorite variety of spice. But yeah, let's see. Have I ever eaten a raw habanero? Yes. Ghost pepper, I have not eaten a raw ghost pepper. That doesn't seem super interesting to me. Like, that's not really my my style. Ooh. Have I had this? I feel like I might have had this. Because there's a restaurant. Okay, let me check before I run my mouth. There's a restaurant here, and I'm blanking on the name of it. It just won the James Beard Award. Con, this one. And if I remember correctly, they have the pickles, and the pickles are wonderful. Let's see. Yeah. So this place rules. If you're ever in Portland and you get a chance, you should definitely go here. You do have to make a reservation a long time in advance. So it's one of those, like, if you've been thinking about going to Portland, maybe plan around being able to go to this restaurant. Black pepper is spicy to some in the U.S. I know, this is the thing, is like, my mom is real Midwestern, and my mother-in-law too is so we found out that she would say, like, oh, I don't like this, it's spicy. And later, as we were talking through this, one day we had something that had no spice, like no spice at all, but it had cilantro in it. And she said, I don't like this, it's too spicy. We were like, Jill, what do you mean when you say spicy? And through the power of like interrogating her for 30 minutes, we realized she thinks anything with flavor in it is spicy, which is pretty damn funny. So anyway, that's the level I come from. Hey, what's up, Todd? We were just talking about you. Yeah, exactly. It has to have flavor. This is like, for me, the I think Thai food is a great example of doing this right because I never really felt like I was taking a spicy challenge when I ate Thai food. I always felt like the spice was part of the flavor of the dish, and that it would have felt empty without that spice, right? Whereas when you have like a hot wing, if you eat a chicken wing and then you use the hot sauce, and then you get the like triple XS or the triple XL death sauce, the flavor doesn't really change. This one just hurts, right? It's like they added pure capsaicin or something to it in a way that makes it, I don't know, it's just like, can we make this more unpleasant to eat? And I really don't like that. So I want the hot sauce to be in addition to the flavor of the meal. The bomb is like drinking molten nickel and cat pee. Oh my God, it's battery acid. Lots of love for the bomb out here today. I love it. I love it. Dave's Insanity sauce. I don't know what this one is. Insanity sauce. How hot? 180,000 Scovilles. Okay. I'm sorry. That's not that spicy. Actually, let's check. Scoville on Big Red Three Kings. See if anybody's figured this out. Does anybody have an estimate on this one? I think we tried to figure it out because like the ghost pepper itself, the scorpion pepper, the reaper pepper, they all have really, really high Scovilles. But I don't know. I don't think anybody's like done the math to figure out what the actual. Yeah, I don't think anybody's figured out what the actual Scoville level is. Hold on, let's see. 855,000 Scoville units to a little over 1 million. Is this for... Okay, so pure ghost peppers have a Scoville of over 1 million. But this one is not pure ghost pepper. So it's definitely not over 1 million. But I do think it's going to be way hotter than the Dave's Hot. Oh, hold on. Carolina Reapers, 2.2 Scoville. I don't know, maybe it's about the same. What's in the Insanity sauce? Is there... It just says hot peppers. Hot peppers. Which peppers do you use? This isn't what we were going to do today. What are we even doing here? Insanity sauce. So what is the heat level? Insanely hot. So, dude, you can't just say that it's hot peppers. You gotta talk to me. What's in it? Whatever. It looks... Hot pepper extract. Okay, so this is where it starts to get stupid for me because that's just to make it hot. That's not to make it flavor, right? And so that's where I start to, like, I don't know. Buying a gallon of this is also extremely funny. Like, anyways, so let's talk about. We didn't go to con. We went to. Where did I take y'all? No, we went to Gato Gato, which, oh man, Gato Gato rules. This is one of my favorite restaurants in Portland. This place has the, like, it's a fixed price menu, and every single one of these is going to be one of the better bites that you've had. It's so good. Once you get into, like, just come on, it's so good. It's ridiculous. Like, and this one is not as hard to get into as con, so you can definitely go. Let Make it happen. Make it happen. Where we going? Where we going? I'm just scanning over here. Yellow mustard is there crazy? Okay, so this is one of those my so growing up, this may I may have told this story before, so you know, bear with me if you've heard this one. But so growing up, I was a super picky eater, and I was picky not because I thought. Like, I was picky because I thought all food tasted bad. And the reason that I thought all food tasted bad, and this is loving, my mom was a terrible cook. She did not like cooking. She was not interested in cooking. She did it because we were a atomic traditional Christian family, right? And so my dad worked and she took care of the house and she had to cook. That was the job. She hated it. So she was like maybe some of y'all can relate to this, like a weekly menu thing. So like, you know, Tuesday we had the same meal every week, and you know, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. So my mom learned maybe from I don't know what recipe box she got all these from, but she had basically one meal, but she would pretend that it was something else. And so the most like standard one is she would make a pot pie where it was Tyson frozen chicken breast, it was cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, it was a can of veg-all, and Bisquick. And you would put that in a casserole dish and you'd bake that. No spices, none whatsoever. So that was pot pie night. Then we would have enchiladas, right? And so enchiladas were Tyson frozen chicken breast, cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, tortillas, and Monterey Jack cheese. And then she'd put that in a casserole dish. She would bake that. And then we'd get real wild, and she would make chicken curry, right? And so this was, you're never going to guess. It was Tyson frozen chicken breast, cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, exactly enough curry powder to make it yellow and no more, and rice. And then on the best night of the week, she would make pizza, and it was Bisquick dough and Monterey Jack cheese, right? So we were not like I didn't get exposed to a lot of flavors. Like when I had vegetables, they were in the microwave steamer bags or out of a can. We, you know, like she bought the fruit that was, we didn't know how to get ripe fruit. So I was always eating like underripe apples, underripe bananas, stuff like that. I remember every fruit being crunchy, and I was like, why is this all, I just don't like fruit, right? So anyways, I actually got rescued by, I went to a restaurant and I got a job there, and the chef, all I would eat was pepperoni pizza. Like that was it. And every shift meal I would order pepperoni pizza. And one day he just he like looked at me, he goes, what else do you eat? And I was like, I don't eat very much. I don't like food. And he's like, can I make you a bet? And he was like, I bet you your meal. Like, let me make you something else. And if you don't like it, I'll still make you a pizza. But I want you to try something. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so he slowly, over the course of my employment, the couple years that I was at this place, just kept introducing me to different flavors and you know, ripe food and fresh vegetables. And by the end of it, I was like, wait, I actually do like food. And then I went back and I started like bringing some of that stuff home. My mom still doesn't like to cook. She's a much better cook now. Kind of. Well, I mean, she just doesn't like to cook, right? It's not her thing. She bakes. She's a great baker. So anyways, my all of my ability to eat has been hard won. Let's see. What are we doing? They don't use DeBomb because it's a palate cleanser. That's true. That is very true. Regret Extreme. What's that one made of? Let's see. The spiciest rabbit hole, indeed. The devil spit. Yeah, the devil spit was kind of like, I don't know. Blazing rectums. What a name. Let's see. A gallon of hot sauce on the show would be actually pretty funny. That's Oma's is great. Oma's is part of the Gato Gato family of restaurants. They actually just made the executive chef or the chef de cuisine of Gato Gato is now like the executive chef of the whole restaurant group. So the Oma's stuff, my hunch is going to get even better. You'd see, and this isn't fun to me. And I bet it's that pepper extract. Big Reds is 500 to a million Scoville. Yeah. Well, and that's, this is like ChatGPT's probably making shit up, would be my guess. Yeah, Todd, I think we had very similar childhoods from the little bit we've talked about it. Let's see. Big Enchilada absolutely should have pressed charges for doing that. Like, how many days a week do I eat Tyson chicken? 0 days of This has turned into food issues for me where like now I think frozen stuff is worse, even though it's oftentimes completely indistinguishable. But like we'll go to the store and I will fight to go to a butcher so that I can get a fresh chicken as opposed to buying the frozen chicken because somewhere in my heart I'm like, no, frozen chicken is bad. We're getting you a job at this restaurant for a month. Oh man, see, this is one of those things like I don't want to do butchery always, but I've done parts of it, right? Where you get like a whole side of beef or something and you break it down, and knowing kind of how food comes to be, like that plastic wrap pack with a steak in it, what part of the animal was that you're about to eat, and understanding how food gets to be on your plate, I think is a really interesting. I mean, I would go beyond interesting. I think it's a really important thing to understand because it helps contextualize a lot of what we consume. And I mean, that's another reason why I fight to go to the butcher over the frozen stuff, is that there's something special about knowing that if I were interested in the most Portland way ever, I could drive 30 minutes out of town and go look at the chicken farm that I get a lot of my chicken from, or that the guy who grows who raises the pigs that we buy at our butcher is frequently at the farmer's market, teaching people how to do butchery. It's cool to see that kind of stuff. And it makes me feel a little more connected to my my stuff. Let's see. Rotisserie bird. Yeah, so the rotisserie bird is interesting too, because rotisserie birds are super cheap. And the way I understand this, and who knows, this could be conspiracy theory, is that rotisserie birds at grocery stores are they roast all the chickens that are about to go bad, and that's why they're so cheap, because there's no using it afterward. Breaking down a chicken, being able to break down a chicken when it is not cooked and also when it's cooked is pretty cool. I feel like that's very, very helpful. Fresh eggs. I still haven't managed to find a neighbor that's got fresh eggs for me. That'd make a big deal. The French toast of chicken. Exactly. Sign up for the game show just to have cheese bread. That's an interesting idea. That could be instead of a glass of milk, you get a little thing of cheese bread, because does that work? The fat, is it the fat that coats your tongue, or do you need sugar? I don't know. We'll probably have ice cream or something so that we don't hurt. Again, not trying to hurt people. Okay. Well, that's a little 30-minute rabbit hole. Should we work on some code? It is fat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, finding a neighbor that can get me fresh eggs. It feels like I should be able to spin in a circle and point, and one of my neighbors would have chickens and like would give me eggs. But come on, just awful, awful. Okay, so I did that cooking stream, and yeah, man, I want to do it. I want to bring it back. I really do. I just it's the vision that I have for it and the amount of effort. Marissa and I are kind of at odds about like the right way to do that. Because I want it to be a certain. I have a thing. What stand is my keyboard on? All right, let me go back to this view for a second. So my keyboard, this is a Moonlander. So you can see here, it's the the Moonlander. It's got the little like wrist flaps and this thing. This is its little flipper. This is how it propels itself forward in the water. And then underneath, it's on this big, heavy metal stand. And so this is sold by ZSA. It's an official component for the Moonlander. It's great. The reason I like it is that without it, you can kind of start scooting it together, and with it, it's much harder to do that. Like, it's pretty heavy. You got to actually like push to get it to move. And it also, you can see this little leg here. So if I bring this leg down, you can see how much more distance I'm getting on the tent. So that's a solid, like, what is that? Like an inch and a half of distance that I'm getting on the tent that I wouldn't get if I didn't have the stand. So that is also very nice. And you can take it even further, I think. I believe this goes, yeah, this will go even further. I don't have I need an Allen wrench that is tucked away somewhere. But it'll go even taller. I think you can get it like borderline vertical. Let's see. It goes up to here. So that's, you can't see that side. Let me do the other side. So this pops off, and then it'll go up to about here. So you can get borderline vertical with this thing, which is, if you've got wrist issues, is pretty great. And now I've broken it. That's good. That's good. There we go. All right. So, yeah, the little legs are good, but like, I don't know. You could also, if you've got a 3D printer, you could probably like 3D print a stand like this, and just put some like rubber matting on it to stick it to your desk, as opposed to, this giant heavy stand. But you can do that. So, all right, let's do work. So I'm in the site. I'm dangerously close to getting this done. So this is the site as it stands today. In dev mode, it's a little bit slower, but look at all the perf work. Some of y'all might remember how slow this was when I first launched it, but I've done some work to improve the perf on it. And so now when you click in, you get your episodes nice and quick. You get into the episodes nice and quick here. We've got the profiles. Now this one, Lizzie's was cached. So if I go into, I don't think I've been to Carter's. So the first time, it's a little bit slow to load these profiles. And I don't have a good, I guess I could prefetch to make that a little bit faster. But then the second time you go in, it's very, very fast. And so like this is, Chance's was cached, Lizzie's cached, mine should be cached. Oh, apparently I cleared that cache. And so the way that this is working right now, let's see. Let's go. Still getting used to the Moonlander. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. This is it's a server-side edge cache, and so I can walk through a little bit of how it works. So if we go here, what we're doing is we're using a package called CDN Cache Control. It's built by Matt Kane. He's on the Astro team, used to be on the Netlify team, and we get out cache headers. And so what I'm doing with this is I'm pulling out, creating a new instance of the cache headers, turning on stale while revalidate, setting it to live for a day. I could probably even turn that up actually. And then we add some tags to it. And cache tags are I think a generic thing, but this is I'm using it specifically with Netlify. And the way that this works, if we look in the network tab here, I don't think we've been to Jack's profile yet, so let's look at this this tag here. So we're going to click on Jack. Okay, and so this is our first click, and when we look in here, we can see. Let me. Oops. Whoa. So you can see here that the cache control, we've got, like, we're using Netlify's durable cache. I can talk about what that is in a minute. It says that we missed and that it was stored, right? And then if we look down here somewhere, somewhere down here we get, there's the cache control, and then we get like a Netlify cache down here. Oh, maybe it doesn't show up in this view. But what we're sending is a Netlify cache that includes a cache tag that it's a profile, and also that it has like profile dash JHair for Jack, right? So then when we go back, we're back in the section here. I click on this, and you can see it loaded way faster. And this time it says that we hit the durable cache, but we missed the edge. So still pretty good. Then if we come back, we try it again. Let's see if we hit the edge this time. And this time we hit the edge. So it doesn't even go to the durable cache anymore because we had it in the cache here. And so the nice thing about this then is that if I send this page to one of y'all and you go and look at this on your browser, it should be cached for you already. And if you look at your browser, my guess is that you'll see that the durable cache hit, but the edge missed, because it's unlikely that somebody at your specific location hit the same edge node, because there's tons of them. But it should show the Netlify durable hit and a Netlify edge miss would be my guess. Could I warm it up ahead of time? Yes. So one way that I could do this is I could schedule functions to just load the pages after deployment, maybe batch them in. Oh, actually, I could do this with ingest, because ingest lets you do like a maximum concurrent. So if we, throw 500 pages at it or something, and then just say like do it at most 20 at a time, then we don't rate limit, because this hits the Sanity API, and so I wouldn't want to. I think the rate limit there is like 100 every 10 seconds or something like that. There's it's a good rate limit, but it is there, so you can't just like request everything in individual queries on your site at the same time. And I could probably pre-render these. Why wouldn't I pre-render these? Let's think about that, because maybe I can just switch this over to pre-render. So on like mine, we're on, crap. I think I have a duplicate of my username. Let's go into the Sanity Studio, which I'm also running locally, and let's look for me. And I have 2. Okay, so this is going to be interesting, because what I need is to repoint anything that's pointed at this user over to my other user, because I did a thing that I shouldn't have done. So let's see if we can write this query here. What would this be? It would be Can it just be this? Probably not, right? No, that would be too easy. Is it, wait, or is it reference? That's not right. No, that's not it. I need to look at the Grok cheat sheet. Oh, hold on. I'm getting this like all the way wrong. It is count sliced ordering. I need to join references. That's the one I was looking for. Why didn't you show up when I searched for you? So we go back in here. And that did just work. Excellent. So 419 items are set up for my... Crap. Is there an easy way to do this, or am I have to like write a custom function to do it? Let's see. Been doing web dev for a year, feeling stuck. Project ideas to get rid of the blockade. I mean, the way that I like to do it is just pick something silly and build it because it makes me laugh. An easy way would be go do web dev challenges. We've got a bunch of them. There's 8 of them on this on the show now, and you know, pick one that sounds like fun. If you want to follow the tool rules, fine. If you don't worry about that, because you know you're not entering anything. It's just a way to get you building, and build a little app in a short amount of time to you know, force yourself to learn something new and ship something, and try to get it to a point where you can actually ship it, share it, make it something that you can, you know, send to your friends, make them laugh, etc. But the biggest thing that's kept me going is that I have I have a really hard time doing what feels like academic work, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to study, you know. I want to play. And there's a lot of research around this that playing, it keeps you engaged, it makes it easier to stick through hard things. It actually helps your memory and retention. And it just generally kind of like forms the right pathways of making the things we're doing inherently rewarding. Like the doing it is rewarding, which makes it easier to keep doing it, because then we're not saying, well, I suffer now for rewards later. We're saying, well, I'm getting rewarded now and I will get rewarded later. It's inherently easier to follow, right? Like you can keep going in that sort of situation much more easily. But yeah, definitely ship and share things. Well, I mean, you know what? You can do whatever you want. I am not your supervisor, and I don't want to make you feel like you're getting yelled at. So in my instance, like my experience has been that sharing things has been a significant power up for my career. Like I get to do all the stuff that I do as a direct benefit of having been out in public, building stuff, sharing stuff, trying to make my friends laugh. And, you know, that group of friends gets bigger as you're on social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Stuck with back-end logic, how to build a robust back-end. Okay, so here's what I would say. Don't worry about being robust at first. Worry about figuring out how to make it work, and then start figuring out the ways that somebody else could break it. Rather than trying to get it all right on the first go. And just be clear that like you're not shipping production grade, gonna survive a million people with bad actors, et cetera, et cetera. You're building something to show that you're learning, that you wanted to build a back end so that your friends could create posts or share photos or whatever the thing was that you wanted to do. If somebody tries to break it, they'll be able to. Right? And if somebody tries to hack it, they might be able to. you're not doing it as a business. You're doing it as a learning exercise. And if you're clear about that, then it's fine. It's great, in fact, because figuring out how somebody can hack a thing you built is a great way to start learning how to build more robust applications, right? So take the pressure off of getting it exactly right and instead just get reps. Figure out, like, the building blocks of this stuff all stay the same. If you start to think about what the back end of every single application is, it is a CRUD app, more or less. You're going to be, at the very least, reading stuff, right? So you're going to hit a back end, a database, an API, some kind of storage to load data, and you're going to return that data in a format that the front end can consume, whether that's a template, whether that is fully formed HTML, whether it's a JSON object that the front end will then manage, whether it's XML if you're doing RSS, or you're using a different, one of the more like the OG frameworks that still consumes XML. You're going to be, that's it, right? Reading data, right? Then you get into the loop, you are sending data. You need to get new data into the system, right? So creating data. Then you have to be able to update. You need to be able to delete. That's CRUD. Then you get into how do you control who can do what, and that gets you into user management. So now you have user accounts, but really what a user account is just a specialized form of CRUD, because you need to let somebody tell you that they're allowed to do a thing, which they do by creating a user, and that user has a password attached to it or some other kind of authentication, OAuth, magic emails, whatever it is. But they're doing something that says, I'm allowed, like, I am me, and they create a user that's tied to a behavior, right? Like, and then once you have that user has a identifier, a token, a session, or something that says, I'm allowed to do certain things. And then they are allowed to perform CRUD actions in your backend based on being that user. That's kind of like, if you start simplifying what applications are, almost every backend is those patterns. So then you start looking at the specialized stuff, like they need to upload text, they need to upload files, like images, things like that. So handling a file upload is a whole process that you learn, and how to do that safely, and how to limit the size or the types, or to process them for safety, so that you don't have somebody upload an image that's got some nasty scripts like embedded inside of it. All that stuff is things that you can learn if you want, or that you can offload to a service. Like if you upload stuff to Cloudinary, they already figured out how to take assets and make sure that you clean out the nasty stuff, and they give you a re-encoded version that's got all of the junk taken out of it, right? Similarly, you can use backends, like I use Sanity, because writing a full-blown database to manage my website would have meant building and maintaining dashboards that I don't want to build or maintain. So I can lean on Sanity, which basically does that for me, and then I'm using their APIs for all of my CRUD stuff. And that then just takes some stuff off my plate that I don't have to deal with. And again, these are all choices that you can go as deep as you want on this stuff. But at the end of the day, full stack web dev is the practice of building things that allow people to interact with them. And if that means using a third-party service, if that means relying on a CMS, if that, whatever that is, you're still doing full stack dev. There's just levels of depth. I like to think of it, the best description I've heard is a paint drip skill set. And so when I say paint drip, what I mean by that is that your experience is broad, right? So if like front of the front end, like styling stuff is here, and you've got, semantic HTML, accessibility, you get into some JavaScript, some interactivity, animation, et cetera. Now you start getting into like talking to the Node APIs, maybe you're doing stuff like that. And then all the way back here, you start getting into like database optimization, security, like server admin, like back of the back end stuff. All of these things, you don't need to know all of them, right? And your paint drip can have gaps in it. Like maybe you know a lot of this stuff, but you don't feel super strong on like the JavaScript interactivity stuff, but you feel pretty good on talking to Node APIs, but then you don't feel very good on security. But you feel really strong on styling and semantic HTML and accessibility, so you've got these long drips, you go deep here. And then maybe you feel really good about doing the basics of like an Express server. And so you start to go deep there. So you can have gaps, you can have shallow areas, but all of that adds to being a full stack developer. And depending on the project, you'll be more or less suited to that specific project. But if somebody says, we need you to be a server admin, I'm not going to take that job, right? I would not say that means I'm not capable of being a full stack developer. It just means I'm not a security specialist. I haven't done the deep levels of study that allow me to get into like the gnarly stuff that happens at the security layer at companies that are big enough to have bad actors targeting them. That's fine. That's an expertise that people spend a lot of time building. But if you ask me to build a website that has user login and can take user input and we want to scan that, and maybe we want to talk to an LLM and I don't know, have the LLM do first line moderation to make sure that the really terrible stuff doesn't make it to human eyes to protect their mental health, because human moderation is a brutal game if you've never looked into that. All of those things are things I can do, right? I just might not be the specialist to build the LLM. I might not be the specialist to go like deep into the file encoding. But I could choose to learn more if I wanted to, if it was necessary for my job. And that's really how I've approached all this stuff is throughout my career, I've learned what I needed to learn for the job, and then I've volunteered for stuff that takes me 10% beyond my current comfort level and said, I can do this. And then that 10% is my growth, right? And the nice thing about growth is that, when you can do one thing, 10% of one thing is 1.1 things. When you can do 100 things, 10% growth is 110 things. So the speed with which you can kind of level up is nonlinear. And I think that's important to keep in mind too, because at first it'll feel like nothing is happening and that I have to look up everything. It takes me forever to do anything. All of this makes no sense. I'm so confused. I have to ask for help every time. Yeah, it's because it's brand new. Give it a year of doing those things, challenging yourself, et cetera, and you will find yourself like, oh, I know how that works, but I've never seen this before, right? And then eventually give it 20 years, and you won't say, I've never seen this before. You'll say, I haven't had time to look into that, but I know where to look. I know what it's called, right? And so you very rarely end up in situations with repeated practice where you're going to know all the answers. But the more experience you get, the more likely it is that you know the jargon, that you know what to search, or in extreme cases, you know who to ask, like who to go hire to solve that problem if it's super specialized. It's a very long answer to a what might have been a more straightforward question, but I think it's really important to not get blocked on getting it right, because you can't get it right. Here's a good, make it work, then make it good, then make it better. That's a really good way to look at it, because if you never get to the point where you can build an app, then you can't get the constructive criticism on how that app might have a security hole or a performance bottleneck or things that we learn those by getting them wrong. No amount of study is going to make you immediately do a good job. And even when you're really, really experienced and really, really good, you will build things. Like right now, I'm working on the Learn with Jason site. There are performance when I first published this V2, it was extremely slow because what I was focused on was functionality. And now that I've seen where things are slow, I'm going through and optimizing and learning how to make things better, right? Speaking of which, I was talking about the caching, and I wrote a whole article on this, in fact. So if you want to, looks like I need to have a performance deep dive on this one too. So here's this page. Here we go. Not the shortest URL, but this will take you down that journey of like adding a durable cache to an Astro site, which is super fun. Let's see. A full stack developer is one item away from overflowing their stack. 1,000%. Just scrolling back through. Okay, yeah. So personal scope creep is the death of non-starter for all the good ideas. Yes. And this is the problem, right? Is I'm very guilty of this because I Ira Glass has this quote that I think about all the time, and I'm gonna paraphrase it because I never get the wording exactly right. But he says something to the effect of, when you start, and I would argue that it's always, your taste is better than your talent, right? You know what good is because you've seen other people be good. You have not practiced, so you can't perform at the level of the people you've seen who are good. Like, music is a really good proxy of this, where I've seen people, like, I've been a musician. I know when somebody is incredibly good at piano, guitar, etc. And I can see their like technical skill. When somebody's playing Flight of the Bumblebee at like 3x speed, you're like, oh my God, the precision there, the control is incredible. I can't do that. Like, I lack the physical ability to move with that precision. I have not practiced enough to have the muscle memory to be able to do that in that same studied, smooth, practiced way, right? My taste is like, I can tell that that person is better at Flight of the Bumblebee than I am, right? And I can imagine things that sound better than I'm capable of performing. And so in web dev, the same thing happens. I can see an app and I start to think about where it could go and what it could be. And I'll start adding features, and I'll add, a hypothetical, like, oh yeah, and then if it gets really big, then we could do this. I'm super guilty. Like, anybody who's spoken to me in a brainstorming session has heard me say those words. Like, oh, and then after we get adoption, then we could. And I start spiraling off into like, multi-million-dollar budgets and huge teams, and we're at the Grammys or whatever it is, right? Like, it gets way out of control in a hurry because I can see this path into the future for what could be. And then when I start to scope back to what can be today, I get sad because I can't do the thing that I can imagine. And then I'm telling myself, it's probably not even worth it because that's too far away. And if I know that could exist, I'm not going to be happy doing something that's only part of the way there. And this has probably held me back more than anything else in my career, because I always have this bag of ideas, and then I'll sit down and I'll think about one. I'll start trying to make myself get moving. And because I can see how far I want to take it, it feels too big and out of reach. And I'll say, well, I'm just not going to bother, And so then I'll work on something that feels more within scope, something that I can't imagine being big or important, because then I don't have to be disappointed if I never get to what I can imagine it to be. And at some point, I embraced, and I wish I could explain how this happened, because this is one of those things that I told myself I was going to do. I got advice from other people. I don't know, a decade of people saying, well, just start small and make incremental progress and always make it a little bit better, and you'll get to that big thing that you could never get to in a week or a month of laser focus. At some point this sunk in, and that's what I'm doing today with Web Dev Challenge, what I'm doing today with the game show that's coming, what I've done in my career with the stuff that I've built, the fact that I was able to build this Learn with Jason site that has, we've got like video production stuff. We've got, we've got these cool backgrounds. We've got this, like I made this little glass effect that is surprisingly hard. We've got databases set up. We're doing all this cool stuff. We're even dealing with, like, this is Muck's video. And so we're bringing in video from other platforms and building video players. There's no way me from 15 years ago would have looked at this site and said, yeah, I can build that. It was just so far out of my reach. And part of that is tooling. The tools have come an unbelievable distance since 2010, since 2000. And part of it is that I've just built so many little things that every single portion of this site is me borrowing knowledge that I learned on something small that I built in the past. And so none of it felt new and none of it felt out of reach. I was reusing experience from previous small projects. And if I hadn't just built those small projects knowing that I could take it further in the future, I never would have built that skill set that made this one feel approachable. And the same with the Web Dev Challenge. If I had, and what I tried to do, my initial plan was to hold out and not make anything until I could afford to do it the way that I see it in the future. Because the current iteration of Web Dev Challenge is only halfway to what I want to do. We've got the production value. We've got the in-person element of people collaborating, working together. We're missing half of my vision, right? And for me to get there, had I not put out the remote version of 4 Web Devs 1 App, if I had not done the stripped down version of the first episode of Web Dev Challenge, and given people a chance to watch that and show that it was something they were interested in, there's zero chance that I would be having, like, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am right now. There's a decent chance I would be looking for an engineering job again, because if I was still holding out, like, I wouldn't have enough income to stay independent, all that stuff. So it's really important to embrace the idea of it's never going to be what you can imagine it to be. It's always going to have more features in your head, and it's always going to be cooler in your head. That doesn't mean it's not cool at the level that it's at, right? And if I never told anybody that I had a further vision for Web Dev Challenge, we could call it a finished product. We could call it an end result, right? And so me looking at what I'm building with this V2 site, me looking at what I'm doing with the production quality on Web Dev Challenge here, me looking at what we're doing with the game show, I know where I'm going. Like, I'm choosing to not be satisfied with where I'm at, but that doesn't mean I can't celebrate where I'm at, and it doesn't mean that where I'm at isn't something I can be proud of. Yeah. I was joking the other day that all I want to do is start a philosophy podcast, and I guess that's what this stream is now. So thanks, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. What's up, Shruti? I'm excited to see you as well. This is going to be super fun. Let's see. Copilot to use as a beginner. Look, tools are tools. And if you are using Copilot as a way to learn, then it's great. If you're using Copilot as a way to avoid using your brain, it's bad. That is true for everything. If you get online and you copy paste code and you don't understand what it's doing, that is bad. If you go to other sites and you look at how other people built things and you figure out why it works that way and you apply that knowledge to your own ability to code, that is good, right? Copilot is just a faster way to copy paste code from elsewhere on the internet. If you're learning what it does and it's making you better at your craft because you're absorbing information, that is good. If you're not, and you're letting Copilot complete a task and you have no understanding of what it did or why, and no interest in closing that gap, you're putting yourself in a rough situation, right? Because you can't, if you don't understand what's happening, you can't reason about how to change it. When they ask you for a new feature, how are you going to tell Copilot to change behavior if you don't understand the current behavior, right? So that's the big thing. Is there a point where you start to feel confident, or are we doomed to always feeling that we don't know something and there's someone better? Well, here's the complicated part about being alive is that there's roughly, I think, a ballpark 8 billion people on the planet. So your chance of being the best at anything is about 1 in 8 billion. And the other thing about being the best at something is that it puts you in this kind of odd space where there's nothing left to, like, you can't grow, you can only maintain, because you can't get better than the best, right? And so I kind of see striving to be the best as maybe an empty pursuit, if that makes sense. Like, the way that I've thought about goals, like when I was younger, I thought about goals in the sense of I have a thing that I want to accomplish. I am going to make 6 figures as an engineer. I am going to get a senior engineer title. I am going to, I don't know, work for a company that my mom has heard of, like IBM. And those types of goals are very like fixed point, right? So I am working, I'm improving, I'm getting better, I'm kind of negotiating my way, and I get a contract that pays me 10 grand a month for a year. I am going to make $120,000 that year. That's the contract I just signed. That's the job that I'm going to do. I should have felt really good about that. But instead, what I felt was like a vacuum forming, because the thing that I had been working toward was now behind me, and I still had a lot of life to live, and I didn't have something to work toward. So basically, if this was the goal that I had set, and I'm building toward that, right? So I clear this threshold. Now, this goal is static. It's now behind me. My ambition is not. I want to continue to grow. I'm not just like, I didn't hit this goal and say like, that's it, no more growth for me, I'm done. I'm just going to coast from the next, 40, 50, 60 years that I'm alive and just wait it out. Like, no, of course not. Like, there's got to be something else. I'm not just going to sit here empty, having accomplished this one monetary goal. And so what ended up happening was, as I cleared this goal, I started to feel this tension of like, this is where my goal was, and this is where I want to be, and this is a vacuum in the middle. And the same thing was true of like when I got the job at IBM. I had it in my head that a big company was going to be different than working at a small company. And in some ways that was true, but in most ways a job is a job. And I thought the same thing about when I published a book. I was like, well, if I publish a book, then I'll be successful and happy and everybody's going to believe in me. And what ended up happening is I published a book, and having author in my bio helped me get more opportunities, but it didn't, like, nobody rolled out a red carpet for me. Nobody came to my house and said, congratulations, sir, you've won at life. Enjoy the rest of your years in leisure. I was a published author. I made $6,000 on the book, and that was it. That was like, once I dug through a giant bookstore, Powell's Books in Portland, and I found one copy of my book in the bookstore, and I felt famous for like a brief second. But again, it's a point in time. And so I think the thing that is what makes confidence for me has been the shifting of goals from being fixed points to being like process goals. A really good visual of this that I think about a lot is if I am at the bottom of a hill and I say my goal in life is to get to the top of that hill, because if I get to the top of that hill, I'm going to be the best because I'll have climbed this hill. And so you put all this work into it, and you go and you're pushing hard, and you get to the top of that hill. And when you're standing on top of that hill, you look out, and what you see are other hills that are higher. And so your choice can then be, I'm going to stop here, stop advancing. I'm going to become the king of this hill. And to me, that's a tiny death. Or you can go out and run after the next tallest hill that you see. You see one in the distance that's like the tallest one there. You go get to the top of that hill, and you will see from the top of that one that, in fact, there are other ones that are also taller. And eventually, maybe you're the one person who's up at the top of Mount Everest, and I have climbed the tallest hill. I am the person who is at the top of the world. And everything else that you can do from that point is a descent. You can only go down from there. And that doesn't feel inspiring or fun. Like, the sense of accomplishment of being the best in the world is great. It's a badge you can put on your wall. You're going to be very proud of yourself. A lot of your friends are going to be very impressed with you and proud of you. It's a good, like, it's an accomplishment. It's a win. But it's not a completion, if that makes sense. Like, what I mean by process, as opposed to like point in time goals, is I think that a lot of times we think about goals as being a completion. My story is, I am the downtrodden hero who is going through the epic quest to get the ring of power, or to slay a dragon, or what. It's a point in time. It's a fixed crossroads that you have to go to, and you do a thing, and then that thing is complete. And when you think about it that way, it sounds great in the abstract, but like Frodo had to go home after he dropped that ring into Mount Doom, and something had to happen next, right? And the idea that it's a completion, the only completion in life is death. That's when everything stops, right? When you have finally stopped doing anything, you have completed life. Everything else is a step on a journey. And there are going to be high points, low points, accomplishments, things you'll look back on and be proud of, but none of them are like a completion. You win the Nobel Peace Prize. That is a high point on a journey, because after you win the Nobel Peace Prize, you still got to like get in the taxi and go home, and then you go to your hotel room and you got to shower and you got to eat, you got to get home the next day, and like all that stuff. Like life continues, right? So after you've won the Nobel Peace Prize, after you've become the best in the world at something, what matters then? And this was one of the things that I really struggled with when I was in that like early 20s, wanted to hit the six figures, wanted to work at the job that somebody had heard of, wanted to have the time and the freedom, all the things that were important to me. I managed in a relatively short period of time to hit all of those goals. And when that happened, I had thought of that in my head. It was a completion. I will be complete once I have the money and the job and the freedom. So I have it. My life continues. I have no goals. The vacuum is forming. My desire to have something to strive for has left my goals in the dust. And I just went full existential crisis. I was like, okay, so none of this matters. Like, I have accomplished all the goals that I had for myself. Like, everything that my parents had described to me as like the American dream is all like, okay, so I've got, I'm in a good relationship. I'm in a good job. I'm financially secure. I got rid of my debt. I'm working at a prestigious company. So I just wait here until I retire? Like, that didn't make sense. It felt bad. So I had to switch over to thinking about the process of being alive as a series of small competitions with myself and an average outcome. So it's the process, right? So I, every day, try to do something that's a little bit cooler than the thing that I did yesterday or last week. And that way, when I sit down to think about stuff, I might not feel like I had huge accomplishments today. And here's a great example of this. I did the first episode of 4 Web Devs. What year? What was it? Let's check. 4 Web Devs, 1 app idea. The very first episode happened on November 16th, 2023. 1 year and 10 days. Since that time, right? So when I did 4 Web Devs, 1 app, let me show you the difference. So this was the first episode. I'm not going to play the sound or anything, but like, let's get in here. This is us doing this episode. It's a screen share. We're remote. We didn't even get to do this live. Salma recorded this by herself and then sent me the demo. And then, Scott recorded his demo by himself and sent me recordings, and I edited this stuff together. That's what we actually had, and then we all sent each other our apps and like did a screen recorded review, and I edited it together. I was very happy with this, but I knew where I wanted to go. This was a year and 10 days ago. I actually thought it was longer than this. I'm kind of blowing my own mind right now. So a year ago, this was the best I could do. And this was good. I'm proud of this. But today, like now, 1 year later, I have been able to do stuff like the Web Dev Challenge. And if we look at this is a reality show. And this is actually the first episode. So let's go to the most recent episode where we've got, all the benefits of me having the time to build out a studio, me having the time to, get into a rhythm with my crew, figure out the bumps and everything. Like the distance between episode 1 of 4 Web Devs 1 App and this episode that came out this week, I don't know that I could have imagined how to get to here in one step. But because I shipped 1 year apart, this is the gap, right? And to me, that's the like, what am I going to be able to do in another year? I've got ideas. I think I know where I'm going. But, like, that's so exciting to me. And this is what makes me feel confident, is I have this trail of success that I can look back at, and I can say, look what I did in 1 year, right? And if I go from a year ago, so if this is, this is, where are we? This is a year ago. What if we go even further and we look at like what I did 8 years ago, right? This is me 8 years ago. And the difference is outstanding. Like it's one of those things. It's I don't know how to communicate this well, as evidenced by the fact that I'm kind of like 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes into this rant. But I think what really makes the difference in feeling fulfillment is recognizing that this is such a cliche, and cliches always, they only land after you've like learned the lesson. So you can't teach somebody with a cliche. You can just say it and they'll ignore it, and then eventually they'll feel it, and then they'll say the cliche. But the journey is the point, right? The journey is why we're here. We've got, if we're lucky, 100 years on this planet, on average 80 years on the planet. And the only, like, the destination is death. The point is everything that happens in between. So how are we going to measure that? And I don't think that, if you look at, like, let's do, what are we going? Let's go TL draw, right? And so we go to TL draw, and we have, let's say a timeline here. And so if this is birth, this is death, and let's make a broad assumption that we're going to live about 80 years. Okay, so we're going to live about 80 years. That means that, let's try to get this. How accurate can we make this? Can I get all of these at once, and we'll just, okay. Each of these is about 20 years. So if you're 20 years old, you are here. And if you're like me, you're about here, right? And so my little adventure, where I started having all of my crises, happened about here. And now if I had decided that that was it for me, all of this space is just unoccupied, right? And the other depressing thing is if we look at the traditional way of handling this, where we say, why can't I? Where we say everything happens when you retire, this is about 65 years. And so what is that? 80% of your life then is waiting for this so that you can enjoy this segment. And that's the part where it starts to get messy. So instead, instead of thinking of it as like, I want a trophy, and my trophy, like, I got my trophy and now I just wait to die, right? Instead, I think the right way to think about this is if we look at the same, let's see, can I get all of this at once? No, I want it like this. No, not quite. It's fine. Do it like this. Get one of these out of there. And nope. Here. So if what we look at is, so the first 20 years is just us being kids. We're learning, we're growing, we're doing whatever. So this is our baseline. But then we get to be adults and we start to make our choices about who we are, what we do. And so if we just kind of look at it as like, I want to just get a little bit better this whole time, right? At some point, call it 70, we start to decline and things get worse and then it gets bad. But this to me is interesting because if I'm here and I got to here, what is this? Like, what am I capable of here? This is huge. This is an absolutely enormous opportunity. And if I look at it as like, well, I hit my static goals, and so I'm just going to coast, there's a lot of there's a big delta between me trying to get a little bit better all the time and me just deciding that, 40's fine, I'll be done. I don't know if this is a good visual or not, but it matters to me. I think this has been a big chunk for me is like, if you think in terms of like linear living, then you have a series of destinations. Whoa. And like maybe you get some trophies and like the final trophy is here and then that's it, right? But I think if instead we look at it this way as being growth and that all of this is stacking on something else. And some of this might be, maybe this little peak or, here, this little peak, maybe this is me getting a six-figure job. And that really changed things for me. Maybe this one is me getting a job at IBM. Again, really changed things for me. And maybe this one is doing some like video production stuff. Not really related to my engineering career. Like related in the sense that I made the subject of it the same, but everything I did here related to this, and there is no chance at 20 years old I could have predicted that I would be doing video production. It wasn't even on my radar. I thought I wanted to be a rock star, right? I thought I was a musician. I thought I was a designer. I never thought that cameras were for me. And so if that's where I am now, what's this one? What's this one? Are they related to video at all? Is it something completely different? Do I end up in a completely different industry? Who's to say? I have no idea, but I'm really excited to find out. And I think that the steady push forward and the willingness to continually explore and try to improve a little bit, looking at this makes me confident that this slope is possible, right? And that, I think, is why it's so important to look at it as a process, because past behavior, past results predict future results. And if I can look at the past and see, look at me, I got 1% better every day, and these are, my little wins. None of them are the thing that I thought I could do. None of, I didn't become a rock star, but I did manage to keep a band on the road without having to ask my parents for money. That's a win. It's not the big win that I saw, but it was an accomplishment. I got a job at IBM. Wasn't the end of my career. I didn't stay there until retirement, but it felt significant. It proved to me that I was a good enough engineer to work at one of the big companies. Doing the video production now it's proof to me that I can make something that's fun to watch. I can see a million things that I want to do better, right? Same with my engineering, with the the code that we're writing out here today. All of this, there's a million things that I can see that I think could be better, and I don't intend to just stop here. I intend to iterate and keep trying. And a year ago, I can see where I was through actual video artifacts. Today, I can see where I am through actual video artifacts. And I think this is why it's important to ship and share, because you can go back and you can look at the thing. You can say, look what I built a year ago, and look how much better it is today. I love it when artists point, like, this is what artists will share, like, this is a drawing I did when I was 20. Here's one I did when I was 25. Here's one that I did when I was 30. And here's one I did today when I was 50. And the progression, like, they were a good artist at 20, but that 30 years of experience, so much magic happens. And if we didn't have the artifacts, it might only feel like, like, oh, I've always been a good artist. And that's true. But you can't see the delta without shipping. What a rant that was. I hope that was useful and not just like me telling myself happy stories. Yeah, that Ira Glass quote rules. It's so good. You only have to be better than your yesterday self 1,000%. How can you join the 4-hour web dev challenge? There will be so historically what I've done is I've recruited from my network. Next year, I'm going to be doing a casting call similar to the one that we're doing for the trivia show. So if you're not already on the newsletter list, I'm going to drop a link to it in the chat. You should get on this. And that'll be the place that guaranteed finds out about the casting calls. That's the easiest place. Yes, the 4th episode was the best. Yes, Shruti, that's not biased at all. There's Shruti, by the way. Did I have the studio at this point? Yes, I think so. I think I had just gotten the studio. Yeah, I got the studio. I think I got into the studio in August, like the end of August, and then I spent most of September building out. And then October, we started producing actually filming the 4 web dev stuff, and then it finally released in November. But yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you had asked me how long ago I did the four web devs thing, I would have said 2 years ago, because it feels like it was so much longer ago, and yeah, the difference is massive. Like, obviously being very, like tooting my own horn, but I don't know. I feel like that is pretty good. Skill collector is definitely a thing. God, Frodo got back to the ring, got laid. Oh, that's dark. Frodo got on a boat. Yeah, just a like a hobbit yacht. Just had added a third lunch, The more I learn, the more I see the stuff I don't know yet. Yes, 1,000%. Welcome to Leet Thinks. Yes. Yeah, right. So Yo-Yo Ma is like probably the best in the world, or at least like top 10 as a cellist. And being perfect, it just takes where do you go? What's better than perfect, right? You're perfect is crystallized and kind of frozen in time. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. So let's see. Caught up. I'm caught up. Kind of caught up. So let's see. End up with a long gray beard sitting on top of a mountain where devs come to ask the crew important. I hope not. I hope not. I hope the way I want to go out is Jacques Pepin is a chef. and he does this thing where he hosts a dinner at his house, and I love it. He comes up with a menu. He brings over a reasonably sized group of people. I think it's like 6 to 12 people, and makes some dinner. And then they all take a Polaroid. They all sign the menu, and he keeps a scrapbook of all the people that he's fed, basically. And to me, that's like, rather than going on this pilgrimage to meet somebody wise, I think the thing that I've always thought about are the people that they came into my life. They weren't mentors. They didn't take me under their wing. We just kind of traveled side by side for a while, and they told me what they had done, and I learned some lessons, and I got information about, what they had done and how that related to my experience, and I was able to take that and, usually completely ignore it until I also made the same mistakes, and then I would understand why they told me what they told me. But in some cases, I was able to learn, a strategy that got me a little bit further. I got, a technique or a tip that made a big difference, or I just got enough confidence by seeing that somebody else had done it before, right? And some of those folks have become really close friends. Some of those folks were in my life for a while, and we just sort of, we were at different places. They were, like in one very specific case, I met somebody who was in the process of selling his company, and he gave me excellent advice, really stuff that really changed my life. And then after they sold the company, they were, multi-millionaires, and I was not. I was making $140,000 a year, and I was very, I was fine, but it becomes very, like, you have different problems when you're, he's talking about how he's got to decide between making his kids into trust fund babies that never work, and their kids don't work because they made enough money on the sale to have multi-generational, like, self-sustaining wealth. And I'm thinking about whether or not I can afford a house. And it's just different. Like, there's a point where your conversations don't line up anymore. And as a result, we just kind of talked a little bit less and less. And, we check in every once in a while, but it's really like that era in our lives is over. They've moved on to a different world. They're in a universe I don't understand anymore. And that's, I'm not mad about it. I got so much out of that relationship, and I think that should be celebrated. But let's see. What inspired me to produce this show? What a great question. I don't know. And I'm not sure which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the Web Dev Challenge, it was a great way to play a game with people that I care about and do it in a way that's educational, and at the same time, I'm an independent creator, so I have to make money, and so this was a way to tie in, like, company interests. They want to see people use their tools, so I was like, hey, you want everybody to watch webinars, but webinars are terrible and nobody wants to watch them. So what if instead we had people build with the tools in a way that was fun to watch, so that people choose to watch your webinars? And they were like, that sounds great. So I was able to make it into a living. I was able to make it into an excuse to bring out people I like to Portland and hang out with them and get great meals and make new friends. It was a way to, like, create the thing that I always wanted to see. Like, ever since I saw the Great British Bake Off years ago, whenever it was that I saw the first episode, the first thing I thought of was, like, I wish there was a version of this for developers. And I'm not the only person who's thought that. I've heard people say that throughout the years. And so I knew it was something that it wasn't just like my weird thing. It was like a thing that other people had talked about, and it was real. So when I had, I found this way to line up what companies wanted, what I was pretty sure audience wanted, what I definitely wanted, with things that made me personally happy. It was like, okay, so this is kind of the perfect storm. I can do this, right? And when the first episode launched, the response kind of made it clear that it was a good thing to do, and companies agreed. So I've been able to continually fund episodes, and it's been amazing. I'm super glad that I get to do it. If you're talking about the stream, I just like hanging out with y'all It's honestly, it's an opportunity to just like chat with y'all because I don't work in a company anymore. So my interactions are, I would say, pretty limited. Speaking of which, I just saw. Yes. Okay. Um, my interactions are pretty limited, and so an opportunity to have the chat going and like hear what y'all are interested in talking about and go down these rabbit holes helps me not lose touch with like what everybody else is doing, because I think it'd be really easy in my situation to get walled off. Like, you know, I'm making the thing that I'm interested in, but I don't talk to anybody, so I don't see what anybody else is curious about or wondering about. And so I'm just kind of like in this tunnel doing only what I care about, which can be fun. Like I think there are people who've built their entire careers out of being like hyper focused on a vision. I think David Lynch is a director that, like, some people really like David Lynch and some people have zero tolerance for David Lynch. And I would say that I doubt he cares at all, because I think what he wanted to do was exactly what was in his brain, and he's not really concerned with what other people care about. So I do think there's a path where you can be laser focused on your own stuff. But I don't know, when I was having my existential crisis in my 20s, when we were doing this part, where's my this part here where I was, you know, freaking out, what I realized was that what always made me happy was when I was with a group of people. Like, one of the better times in my life, despite it being one of the most fraught times in my life, was when I was in the touring band. We were flat broke. We were getting into all sorts of trouble. You know, we were like a group of 20-year-old boys in a 15-passenger van, like driving around the country playing shows. We were not like making great choices, but I was with this group of people who were all focused on improving at this one thing. And that sense of like collective responsibility to get better is one of the more rewarding things that I've ever been a part of. And so when I started thinking about like, why do I want to be alive? Like, if we're moving away from trophies, we're moving away from completion, and we're instead looking at the process, what parts of the process make me want to continue doing the process? And part of it is, you know, the creative exercise, the fun, the money is obviously, like, if there's not a baseline of money, then it's too stressful to try to do it. So, you know, the money has to be there. But a huge point of reward for me was this sense of like a community of people collectively striving toward doing something better. And that has informed a lot of the choices I make about my career, about what I put together. You know, when I got to Gatsby after IBM, they didn't hire me for a particular job. They hired me as like maybe an indication of why Gatsby is not around as a company anymore. They hired me without a role. They hired me because I was a principal engineer, and they were like, "You'll figure out something good to work on." And the thing that I chose to focus on was building out that open source community around Gatsby, because that was the part that felt unique and valuable and like it was the thing that needed the attention. And when I went to Netlify, it was the same thing. I joined the DevRel team instead of the engineering team, because that Netlify community at the time, like, we were putting the resources in. Netlify was putting its money where its mouth was. We were focused on devs. We were building programs for devs. We're running the Jamstack community, all this stuff. And it gave me an opportunity to find this group of people who were focused on improving in this particular vector. And I wasn't just working in a vacuum anymore. I wasn't like, I was still doing tickets, but the tickets were tied to people. I was with a group in a way that felt really special. And Learn with Jason is me attempting to make the community the entire focus of it. Like, I don't want to have to worry about Netlify's revenue, right? That was a big challenge. Was toward the end, I wanted to do stuff like Web Dev Challenge, which, I mean, like, listen, if you run a company and you dismiss stuff like this because it doesn't have a direct contribution to ROI, it's so short-sighted. There are so there's just so much proof that investing into the community and doing things to fix your relationship, your perception, pays dividends over and over and over again. Like Coca-Cola spends $5 billion a year on advertising. Now their revenue is like $47 billion, something like that. So roughly 10% of their revenue is going into advertising. And a lot of the way that they advertise is by buying signs for local businesses, and they have the Coca-Cola logo. We see Coke everywhere, and a lot of the way they do that is by just empowering the community. They're not only buying commercials and Super Bowl ads. They are buying a sign for a business in the middle of Montana that's in a town with 300 people. That sign probably costs per eyeball more than their Super Bowl ad, right? But they know that being in the fabric of a community is critical for being something that people know and trust and reach for. And we're losing sight of, maybe we never had sight of that actually investing in communities is the business strategy. It's not the loss leader to get people to buy the product. It's quite literally the strategy, right? If people feel like they are part of something, then they will support it, right? They feel like they're aligned with the thing. And so things like Web Dev Challenge, where you've got companies helping people come together and learn new skills and build apps that expand their ability to, get a job, to pass whatever portfolio review they're about to go into, or to go do something interesting at their job, where they, now they've seen Clerk enough times that, I know I'm seeing people bring Clerk into projects in a way that they maybe wouldn't have if they hadn't been watching the Web Dev Challenge and trying it out in the challenge hackathons. So anyways, all of what I'm trying to do here is just build out stronger. I want a big group of people around me who are excited to learn, and I want to be learning, with them. Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. Don't have a social following, but plan on growing a public profile. You don't have to have a public profile to be on the show. We had a lot of people on the show who are barely on social media. It's not like the goal is to find real people who are like fun to build with. It's definitely not about like, I'm not worried about your following size. Like I'll probably cast like one person with a big following just because the economics of eyeballs on YouTube and stuff. But in terms of like my expectations of people who apply, like your following it's not part of it. Oh goddamn, Arcane is so good. I just finished it. My little heart. Jacques Pepin is the GOAT. I love that dude. Like he's just the happiest little man I've ever seen. Yeah, he rocks. He also does these videos where he'll like, if you want to, like we were talking earlier about breaking down a chicken. I learned how to break down a chicken from Jacques Pepin. And it is one of those instances where you can see what 50 years of experience looks like, because he breaks down an entire chicken while explaining how to break down a chicken. I think he does it in like 60 seconds. I can't even get like one leg off of a chicken in 60 seconds. It's unbelievable how much skill and experience is there. This shirt is, I wish I could remember. I honestly don't know. If you search for capybara glasses, it might show up in the thing. I think it was on something like Cotton Buer or something like that. Plan for the website, V2 crying in the corner. You're not wrong. Let's see. So Web Dev Challenge Europe edition is on the docket. I really want to make that happen. Let's see. Just watching the 4-hour challenge. Awesome. Thank you for watching that. Yeah, Jacques Pepin making everything look effortless is wild. Like absolutely wild. Okay. So let's see if we can make a little bit of progress here. So let's look at what's left to do, right? So let's use the public version of the site. Ooh, okay, so we found an issue there. These links are block. So that'll be a thing I need to fix. And let's take some notes. Let's go to the README. Oh, I did a bunch of this stuff, so that's done. That's not quite done. That's not done. Schedule is kind of done. We fixed that last time. What we're missing is like the Learn with Jason schedule, having stuff that is in the future. We probably want to change the layout on that a little bit. Responsive style should be a lot better now. Dark mode, haven't done that. Figure out deployment, we've got it deploying. Stripe is working. Clerk is working. Sanity dataset, I figured out that I broke this and I don't know how to fix it, so that's going to be fun. Subdomains in place, nvars are in place. Work in progress banner is out. Have not generated the redirects. That'll be a thing that I got to do. Let's see. Fix block level links in resources on episodes. We also need to. Let's see. So on the home page, the home page needs some cleanup. The footer needs some cleanup. So homepage newsletter needs to be there. We need the footer blurb written. Oh, we need to hook up the search. Hook up Algolia to the V2 site data because it's currently using the public site data. Then, once we get in, we've got the watch page. I'm happy with that. So the reason that there's a difference between the home page and the watch page is I'm going to feature 3 series. And then when you go into all of them, you'll be able to see the full thing, which add see all series link on home page. Then under here, we get into one of these. So like here's, so we've got the sponsorship thing is working. I got this button working now, so it actually opens the first episode. Happy about that. And we've got the profiles are working. Happy about this. We need to, yeah, maybe explore prefetching profiles for faster loads. Let's see, clean up related episodes section of episode page. Supporters, I'm happy about this. This all feels good. We've got the blog. The blog is basically a straight port from the current Learn with Jason site. Let's see. This all feels pretty good. I'm not going to do this as part of like launching V2, but I've seen, actually Salma did this, has the blue sky like and comment thing. Let's see if we can find this fast. It's profile. So on Salma's page, here, you can create this like little blue sky like thing. And then I also saw, I don't know who did this. I'd have to search around for it a little bit. But I saw somebody also figured out how to use like the blue sky thread. Oh, you know who did it? It was Matt Kane. Because Matt Kane is like on a tear right now. Where is it? Yeah, this bit here. So this lets you put in a, somebody just asked about web, Felipe just asked about web components. This is a web component, and it is very cool. And so this one will give you the ability to embed like responses to a given Blue Sky thing into a page. And so when you go here, you can see all of the bits here. And then you can see all of the pieces. So it like leaves the top level one out, and then all of the themes or all of the responses show up, right? So pretty cool. So that's stuff that I want to explore. I'm not gonna bother with it for like V1. Does my RSS work? Ooh. No. Why didn't it work though? Like that. Not only didn't work, but didn't show an error or anything. Don't know about that. Yeah, that feels bad. What is it trying to go to? Do I have that page? That's probably question number one here. Blog, RSS, so this should be here. So something's broken. I gotta fix that. Probably add series RSS feeds, so if somebody wants to track those. Oh, Matt's thing doesn't have contrast. There's theming for it too, so you can customize all the CSS. Yeah, the AT Proto stuff is really slick, and I believe the AT Proto stuff is at the root of what Matt and Salma are doing. Is they're feeding into the AT, or they're using the AT Proto as like underlying tech. Very slick, very good stuff. All right, what else are we missing? So we've got. Is this working? Okay, so that didn't work. Newsletter subscription. Something appears to be weirdly wrong here. Right? This is all the wrong stuff. Oh, it's the public site too, is part of why that's not working. So let's see if this is working locally. No matching export. Oh. Is that a fast fix? No matching export for opt-in. Let's see. One of these is going to be importing incorrectly, and so we are going to find in files. Opt-in form from opt-in form Astro. Why wouldn't these work? That's the blog, right? This is the full-time one. Huh. Why wouldn't this work? Am I feeding it MDX posts? I'm not feeding it a list of things, but if I take this out, I bet it works. Yeah. Okay. So that seems bad, but I don't know what the deal is. Because it is, in fact, doing exactly what I would expect it to do. Okay. Oh, I wonder if it's because I put actions in it. If, like, maybe the actions do something to the way that MDX interacts. So this would need to get stripped out, would be my guess. So do I do that anywhere? If it's an image. Feels like maybe I bet there's a way to fix this that I'm not thinking about. Let's see. Component is await MDX component, get the code. Yeah, that seems fine. Look. I did it. I did the thing. Export. Oh my God, look at this. What a silly way to have that break. Oh no. Okay. So let me explain this because this is a particularly silly piece of code. So I used Astro content collections. And what I wanted to do here was the reason I used MDX in my content collections is that I wanted to be able to do some like custom callouts. So I have this aside thing that I put in most of my posts. I think this one's got a bunch of the examples of stuff. So I have like, I use a figure for this so that I can do things like add captions and stuff like that. I have this kind of aside call out thing. I have all sorts of stuff, right? And so getting that in is great for the web, but then in RSS, it breaks because you can't load JSX into an RSS feed and just goofy stuff like that, right? So anyway, what I ended up doing is, if I remember correctly, I think I patched, where does this go? Yeah, so I ended up doing like the MDX bundler, and I'm passing in my own plugin, and that plugin is looking for any components that are being loaded that end with Astro, and it just straight up replaces them with a different thing. So instead of my like extra thing that has the icons and so on and so forth, I just wrap it in a plain aside. The code pen thing, I change it out. Instead of being an iframe, we turn it into a link. For the figures, I took all the special stuff out and just turned it into a plain old figure. Same with YouTube, it's a link instead of trying to embed a link in an RSS feed. And for the opt-in form, same thing. We do the newsletter is a link to the newsletter instead of the embedded form. And then anything else, if it's unknown, We just no-op it out. And so what I had forgotten to do was make this a default export. And so that's why it was breaking in RSS. What a silly little mistake, but it is fixed. So that means back in the README, ta-da. Okay. So then the other thing we need to figure out is why that blog opt-in isn't working. And let's see, go one of these, do one of these. Okay, so that says it worked. Oh, but the... Oh, because I've already done this one. Okay, so let's go back. Oh no, so that's doing the... Why is it responding with a 500? What would cause you to respond with a 500? That doesn't make any sense. So default exports, usually, I agree. In the case of Astro components, they have named exports with like special things, but there's no good way to export the component itself, so they use the default component is the Astro import. Changes if you want to, however. But yeah, but that's why we're dealing with it there. The 11D, I haven't used 11D in quite a while, but I do remember when I got into some of the customization stuff, that was actually what tipped me over to Astro. Was it felt, and I think this is just a philosophy thing. Like Zach's philosophy for 11D is that like HTML is enough, right? And that JavaScript is a thing that you add manually when you don't have another choice. And I think that is a very reasonable stance to take. I think that Astro looked at it as JavaScript is inevitable, and so they built it in a way that that 11D doesn't. And because you know that it's like you're eventually going to need JavaScript, like on any site as it grows, you're going to have some kind of interactivity or other thing there, and that turns into the. Like I never felt like I was battling Astro to add something. I felt like I was battling 11D, and I think that was what tipped me over. Nunjucks is Nunjucks is, it's a classic. It's been around forever. I have had like the Nunjucks and the Jade templates and they're Pug templates now, EJS, etc. Like they're all really interesting. They all feel a little bit less expressive than the modern templating that we get with Vue or Svelte or React or whatever. And that's been just I grate a little bit on that. Couple HTML only websites that prove the exception to the rule that you have to have JS. I would say that's true, right? Like I have a couple HTML websites. I shipped them with no JavaScript on purpose, and they are very, very simple, and they do exactly what I want them to do. And if I was going to add any features at all, I would almost certainly be adding JavaScript. Yeah, that's kind of been the thing for me too. Is like the Astro it's fast and accessible by default. It's very driven by web standards. It's very driven by doing what the platforms would do by default. And there's the only thing that Astro adds out of the gate is a meta tag with a generator so that you can identify it as an Astro site. There's no JavaScript bundle. There's no like Astro artifacts. It's just whatever your template says. And to me, that's like the spirit of 11D. And I think that's what I loved about 11D, what I still love about 11D. where Astro, I think, set itself apart from everything else, because everything else was like, you know, you were either 11D, which was like, you're going to compile down no JavaScript, it's just the template. And then there was, you know, the Next and the Gatsbys and the Svelte kits and you know, ViewPress and Nuxt and all those. And those ones are like, okay, but if you don't have JavaScript, then this isn't going to work, or it's not going to work very well. And what I thought was special about Astro is that Astro kind of embraced this idea that a lot of the pages on a website don't need JavaScript. Your marketing page, your code of conduct, terms and conditions, your about page, you know, what, most of those aren't really going to have any JavaScript on them, or very vanishingly little. Where you need a lot of the JavaScript is in that scrolly telling part of your blog, or in the dashboard, or in your like app overview page, or your pricing page where you're toggling between the different features and stuff. Those are all really valid places to put JavaScript. And so in 11D, it was a fight to put those in. Or you were opting out entirely and you were like putting in a div in 11D and then just mounting a separate React app on top of it once you got to that page. And in Nuxt or Next or Gatsby or any of the others, you were loading all of this JavaScript so that that one page had functionality, and then the rest of them were loading it just because. And some of them have good, like there are good solutions for static exports and stuff, but those are opt out. You're opting out of JavaScript. And what I loved about Astro is that Astro had the by default, it doesn't ship anything, and then adding stuff to a page is opt in. You say, yes, I would like client functionality here. And you opt in and it says, great, this component then has JavaScript. And then you can opt in an entire page and say this entire page has JavaScript. Or you can opt in the entire site and say the entire site is JavaScript. But you are making that choice and you're explicitly saying, I need the JavaScript here. And then Astro will provide it in a super seamless way, like super low friction way. And I don't feel like I'm fighting against the framework to do the stuff that I need to do on the web. And I think that's why it's sort of why it's kind of captured my heart as a developer. Is it feels like it's trying to do the same things I'm trying to do instead of trying to do things the way that are, in the case of something like Next, more beneficial to the company that owns it, like lots of serverless, lots of JavaScript, lots of bandwidth, et cetera. Or in the case of 11D, doing stuff in the way that is academically correct. Like, I think that, you know, one of the things that's challenging about some of the web components discourse and stuff is that it's academically correct. Like being off of JavaScript, using only web standards, using only progressive enhancement for every single part of your website, et cetera, is academically, yes, we should all do that. But practically, it's extremely hard and challenging and can be really frustrating. And so I think the pragmatic approach is the middle ground of saying, like, look, we know you're gonna need some JavaScript. That's great. We're gonna handle it for you in the most performant possible way. You, by default, will get the right outcomes like web standards and no JavaScript and all the things that you want. It's gonna be accessible, all the stuff that's important, right? You don't have to opt into that. You just get it. You actually have to opt out of the performance. You have to opt into making the page slower, right? And I think that is a really smart way of doing that. Yeah, accessible JavaScript. If you are thinking about accessibility from the ground up, it is startlingly easy to get accessibility right. Where accessibility gets hard is when you're starting. I think he just said this. Todd you don't build a house from the roof first. So if you are coming in with something that has no accessibility considerations and then trying to back accessibility into it, yes, that's extremely hard. Like, of course. But you know, if you're and again, this is, I think, a really good. It's a positive outcome of, you know, 11D is like, use these standards or you're on your own, and Astro is use these standards, and if you're going to do something else, we're going to get you there with less likelihood of making the whole thing bad. I think so. Okay, so I would say the auto imports thing on Nuxt is my one major like beef with it as a platform. I really don't like Magic. and the line between what is a good DX improvement versus what is magic is a very personal line. Automatic imports to me are crossing over into magic in a way that gets really frustrating, because if there is a variable that is not declared, like, to me that's a global that's built in, and if it's something that I wrote somewhere else that becomes a global because I put it in the file, that's really hard to manage, because my instincts, my patterns as a developer are, if the variable is not declared in this file and it's not imported in this file, it is a global. So now I'm going to go to the documentation to look for their global so that I can understand what the thing is. If you don't have that truth of, like, the heuristic is that a global can come from anywhere, is a little bit of a concerning thing to have to deal with. But it is, yeah, I would say there are a lot of things to really, really like about Nux. That's the only one that I dislike. And I believe there's a setting to turn that off. And I believe on the Nux projects that I've done, I have found that setting. Use it for customer front end at work. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's a great tool. It's a really great tool. Yeah, finding out where things are defined is super challenging. It's just, and again, it's a convention. Like, I'm sure that if you do it for a while, you end up with some kind of muscle memory, like, management solution. You learn how to, I don't know, your IDE jumps to definition, or you get the shortcuts memorized for, like, find in files, whatever it is, right? There's usually a way to cope with that stuff. I think it's just kind of as an author, I'm always trying to think about how much of what they're about to learn is something that is only true in my framework. And I think for a little bit that was sort of a fashion thing. Like, frameworks seem to be built with I'm going to build the most interesting syntax, and it's bespoke to this platform, et cetera, et cetera. I am grateful that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It almost seems like there's a bit more of a push toward, let's make the frameworks feel as much like using the web as we can. So we're moving to native request response. We're moving to use the fetch API instead of shipping your own fetch API. We're even seeing, like, the folks who I would say are the kind of last bastion of inventing stuff because it's cool are the Next team, and even seeing them back out and say, like, we're going to stop patching fetch. Like, you have to opt into the fancy whatever auto next stuff that they're doing. I think is good. I think it's a good sign that we're moving away from, like, only works here, and it's good for the web in general, right? Like, the fact that when you get an Astro site or a Nuxt site or really anything built on Nitro, so the Vite Nitro combination is what makes it possible to deploy it everywhere. You can get a Cloudflare, Render, Fly.io, Netlify, Vercel, whatever adapter, throw that into your project and it will deploy, and it's just going to work. And I think that's like why it's frustrating when companies like Vercel don't do that, because it implies, like, they say they're open, but they're, like, clearly not, because there's the Open Next Foundation specifically trying to make Next deploy properly on platforms that aren't Vercel. Vercel has zero incentive to fix this. They're actively incentivized to go the opposite way and make it only work on Vercel, because they have a $3 billion valuation they have to back up, right? So they need you to spend money on Vercel. And so making Next a cash delivery vehicle for Vercel is, like, 1,000% the way that the incentives are aligned. Whether or not that's what they are, like, writing on the board at meetings, I'm not in those meetings, so I have no idea. But structurally, the incentives point toward that. So it's cool to see that that's not the case with most frameworks these days. Most frameworks seem to be moving toward open deployment, an adapter-based thing. Like with Astro, you just write, like, npx astro add and the name of your deployment platform, and it's probably going to work. And I think that is really exciting. There's tools like Vinci, which was on Learn with Jason. Dev Agrawal came and taught us about that. That is a like build your own framework. It's powered by Vite and Nitro. And Nitro will let you deploy, again, you get all those adapters for free because that's the way that Nitro works. That's built by the Nux team. I think that originally was like part of Nux, and they split it out to be like an open thing, which is, again, another reason to love the Vue community, the Nuxt community, is like they are so community minded. They weren't worried that if they took Nitro out of Nuxt, it would like not be, it would remove a competitive advantage for Nuxt. They were just thinking, what if like everything was this easy to use? And I love that. I think that's such an important, like, it's in the spirit of the web. It's in the spirit of the community. It's trying to make the community better, right? And that, to me, that is strength, and it's what makes something likely to succeed. I think power grabs they can work in the short run, but like the long road on a power grab is typically that somebody else grabs the power from you later on. And I think that sustainable influence is built on not worrying about power, but worrying about the collective strength of a community. Anyways. Okay, so I am not making very much progress on this website. So that's a different website. So I need to fix this this action thing. But I think that's kind of it, right? Like I've got the code of conduct is an MDX page. Source code goes there. That's a mail to link. This is the newsletter page. So this blurb. This is feeling close. So what are my non-negotiables for going live here? Let's look. README. So this one's not really a non-negotiable. Let's start at the top. So the data needs to be correct. So I'm gonna just start knocking off the stuff that's actually done. So dark mode I don't care about. I can run off the dev dataset because it's just a name. It's not like a different functionality. This is very important. Block level links. Oh yeah, that's important because that's annoying. That I don't necessarily need. This one is, I don't want, like, can't put to-do stuff up. This is very important. We'll put this right up at the top. See all series link on the home page. It's not actually, like, I can fix that later. It's not a blocker to launch, right? Prefetching exploration would be very good. Clean up related episodes, that's a styling thing. Series RSS is nice. This one is a blocker. So hold still. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. I'll probably find more as I go, but this feels good. Good. Let's see, I have been hydrating, so I am gonna take a quick bio break here, and I will return momentarily, and let's see if we can knock 2 or 3 of these things out before the 3 hours is up. Be right back. Okay. Where are we at? This is data entry. This is data entry. That's probably not what anybody wants to watch. This is going to require a bunch of like OAuth, the API key stuff, so that seems probably not like the right call. Why don't we start with this one, because this is contained. We know we can do this. So let's get into our actions. And that one we know works, so let's figure out what's going on with this one. Actually, I don't need to see input, I just want to see what actually got logged, and then let's get in here. So these then, and this looked like it was working because it was returning because it doesn't give an error, it's just logging the subscription. Or wait a minute. I think this might be one of those weird cases where something weird is happening. That one says failed to create a subscriber. It's got an ID. Okay. Let's try this again and let's see what we, whoa, what was that? That was weird. It's like my left button or my right button was held down. Later, Todd. Good to see you. I'm not planning on streaming on Thursday. This Thursday is U.S. Thanksgiving, and if I'm correct in my schedule, I hope I didn't do this. The next episode is December 5th. So let's see. Am I going to do? I'll do a stream on the 3rd. So we'll see in like next Tuesday, but not on Thursday. This one's gonna be fun. We're gonna learn about SQLite and Terso. We are also the week after that gonna learn how to use a full Python web framework. Elvis was telling me about this. It sounds really interesting. Apparently, you can like the Python framework consumes React components in a way that like if you have a React style guide, you can build in Reflex using that design system. Sounds wild. It's going to be really funny too because I don't write a lot of Python, and by a lot I mean I've written like 3 or 4 lines of Python in my entire career. So we're going to be leaning heavily on Tuple for that one, so that Elvis can bail me out when I forget how Python works. And then this one, we're going to do some test-driven stuff. It's going to be really fun. This one's going to be a little more on the full like architecture philosophical side, where it's like how to think through apps. From what I understood from what Corey was telling me, I think it's going to be good. I'm excited to see how this one goes. Let's go test this out and see if we can figure out why this isn't working. So okay, so when I subscribe, it works here, but did it give me an error out here? Failed to create the subscriber. Now, why, though, did it fail to create the subscriber? This is really interesting that it's doing that. So failed to create the subscriber is down here, and it is checking to see if there is a data.subscriber. Oh, did I get this just all the way wrong, or subscription? I wonder if I just got this like all the way wrong. Data subscription. That'd be a cool one to have some TypeScript on, because that would have been a really easy thing for TypeScript to catch. Wonder if there's a, I bet if I look around, I could find a like ConvertKit SDK or something that would give me types. But if this works, then I don't care. So let's try again. This time it says confirm. Okay, so that's theoretically fixed. Let's dump. Not doing that anymore. Let's get the, oops. Okay, so this is a fix. Correct check for kit subscription. And this is fix MDX replacement issue for RSS. And theoretically that's done, so we can save this and say chore update go live to-do list. Oh. Okay. So I was able to speed up this build too, where now it takes a couple of minutes. Originally I had some stuff that was not parallelized, and it was taking, I think, about 7 minutes. Between, yeah, like six to 7 minutes. And I've knocked that down to 2.5 to 3, it looks like. What's so while we're waiting for this to build, what's everybody, I know not everybody's in the US. For folks who are in the US, what is your Thanksgiving plan? And for folks who aren't in the US, but work with people in the US, is this time of year just like a big vacation for y'all? Like, do you just have nothing to do because all the Americans are completely distracted? How many pages are on my site? Good question. It is, I would ballpark it at 1,000. Because so every episode of every show, I think that puts us around 400 or 450 pages. And then everybody who's been on a show has their profile. And that is, probably another 400, maybe something like that. So yeah, about 900 pages between guests and episodes, and then the blog is another 20, maybe more than 20. I bet it's probably about 20 on this site, plus the miscellaneous other pages. I would say, yeah, we're ballpark 1,000 would be my assumption. Pumpkin pie. I feel like pumpkin pie is an interesting one because I like when it's a good pumpkin pie, I love a pumpkin pie. But I feel like most pumpkin pie is not good pumpkin pie. Small meal together on Thursday, visiting family for a more serious meal on Friday. I love that. I like the ramp up. That's good. We decided not to do a turkey this year because here's what I've been realizing. Turkey sucks. Like, turkey's a trash bird. And the fact that in order to enjoy turkey, you have to make like gravy and cranberry sauce and stuffing and like all this other stuff. It's like, well, what if we just made something that tasted good on its own and also had these things? And so Marissa has decided she's going to make beef Wellington, which I don't know that I've ever had. I feel like I've seen beef Wellington, but I don't think I've ever actually like eaten it. So she's gonna make that. That's really exciting. So that'll be a little flavor adventure for me. And then we're keeping it pretty low key this year, where we're doing it kind of potluck style. So like my mom is bringing over some sides. My brother's gonna actually come to our house and cook a veggie side because he's got a little tiny kitchen. He doesn't want to do it at home. And Marissa's mom is Marissa's mom doesn't cook, so she's purchasing a pie, which I'm very excited about. Beef Wellington, the upscale corn dog. Oh my God, Marissa!
Yeah?
Somebody just called beef Wellington an upscale corn dog.
It's not fried, so.
She's so mad.
I just want to know their name, that's all.
She said, "Who is it? I just want to know their name. That's all." Oh, I love that. I'm so happy. Won't I get deported for not having a turkey? There are no jokes that are funny right now. And that's how Jason didn't get beef Wellington. Oh, that makes me very happy. This is great. Okay, so let's see. The site is deployed. Let's go out and look at it. We fixed two things. We fixed the RSS feed, so we should be able to get an RSS feed. Was it this one that had? That should work. I should pre-render this too. This shouldn't be. What, we fixed you though. Why did you fail? So let's go. Could not resolve components aside Astro. Could not resolve components YouTube Astro. What? Oh no. Oh, this is gonna be. How do I fix this? So the problem is. Isn't this how this works in the current site, though? Is my current site just broken? That would be embarrassing. No, this works. Okay, so this works, and what is different? So we've got... Source is here, content's here, blog is here, the web dev challenge. Okay, so these are all importing the same way, right? Like functionally, nothing wild happening here. So then, what is different? Pages, blog, RSS. And this all does what I would expect. And then these components are all just chilling out here the way that you would expect them to. Right? There's nothing wild going on. So then when we go into this util, MDX helpers, we've got the ES build plugin. This is line for line exactly the same code, including this bug, which is fascinating that that doesn't explode. Okay, so how does this work then? Resolves source content blog. And I am resolving source content blog. Source content blog, right? It's all there. Rendered a string. What on earth is different? Anybody seeing something I'm not? Oh, I see why this was not broken. My opt-in on the original site is a solid component, so that's why it's not a default export. Okay, so that, at least then I know why it's not like, there's no magic here. It's different because it's a different, I'm using solid on the old site. I stopped using solid on the new site because I just didn't have anything complicated enough to justify a framework, with the exception of the Algolia thing, which is loading React. And someday, as a stretch goal, I'm going to figure out how to do that Algolia stuff in vanilla JS. Not for any like particular urgent reason, just because it's like I want to. Sarah Diane built that for me from the Algolia team, which is like the greatest gift. I woke up to a PR from Sarah and I was like, I'm sorry, what? She built the whole thing and it was awesome. And so I want to learn how it works. So I need to like reverse engineer it. And I figured what better way than to like port the React work to the vanilla work to make sure that I actually understand how all the pieces fit together. Rendered a string. Like this is all the same. Let's see. Cooking most of the sides, and then on Saturday do a whole spread. Oh yeah, I do love that. I a year ago, Joel Hooks and I did an absolutely ridiculous, like, I think it started as a 7 or 8 course meal, and then we pared it down. It ended up being 5 at the end, I think, 5 or 6. Man, that was so good. We made like Caesar salad sliders, so like we individually kind of got the cupped romaine lettuce leaves and then like built the little salad there so you could like bite them. We did a creamy cauliflower dish, so I like roasted cauliflower and pureed some of it, so it was kind of like a bisque-ish, little thicker than a bisque, and then like charred some of it, and so you had these like charred delicious bites of cauliflower with this sort of creamy cauliflower thing, and then there was honey in it, hazelnuts. It was outstanding. We did what did we do? I think we did like I think we broke the turkey down somehow. I don't remember. Anyways, the whole meal was out of control. Like everything that we made was so good. Um, am I still going to be cross posting to Mastodon? That's a good question. I should. I should just remember to do it. And yeah, I don't know. Mastodon's been hard for me because I feel like I don't find anything on there. Like it's a very specific type of feed that is time based, and like there's no way for me to see without just like scrolling the whole feed. And I either followed too many people or I don't know. I always feel like I'm using Mastodon wrong and never quite stuck for me. Which has been, it's kind of a bummer because I know a lot of folks went over there and haven't showed up on like Blue Sky, for example, which sucks because I like, I wanna follow all my friends. But that's a good point that I should be posting on Mastodon so that if those folks are paying attention, there's a chance for us to talk. Okay. So I'm kind of at a loss on this one, so I need to like really break it down, and that's probably going to be way less interesting to watch because it's just going to be me like swearing. So RSS imports in ESBuild plugin or unclear on why, because this code is almost copy pasta from the working implementation on V1 of LWJ. Need to do some very tedious debugging. My hunch is that I'm going to have to like step through and log out all of the like the paths of where things think they are, because the V1 Learn with Jason site is a monorepo and the V2 site is not, which is a whole other thing I got to decide if I'm going to deal with. Because I've been using NX, but on the new site, I'm actually not using, like all the other stuff that I was using was because I had like website-based overlays for my old OBS setup, and I had like extra websites, right? And I haven't been using those. V2 was kind of like a work towards simplification for me. That was really the big goal. And so the features that I was using in the monorepo aren't being used in V2. So I've pulled it out for just simpler deployment. So my hunch is that probably somewhere in there, like a path name is doing something weird, and it's, it thinks it's in a different folder than it actually is. So that'll be a thing to dig into and hunt down. But let's see, the other thing that I thought I'd fixed that I didn't, or that I maybe did, was the newsletter subscription. So let's try to actually do this. And so we'll do to prod test at, and this theoretically goes to the confirm page. Hey, it did the thing. And I'll check to actually make sure this got delivered off screen. It did. And did it go to the, is this the one that oh yeah, all of them actually went through. So it was just my bad check. But there's the prod test one. Okay, so all of those are good. I'm not going to confirm them because I don't need 9 million versions of my own newsletter. Okay, so that's one fix. Is there anything else we can fix fast? Update the LWJ. Yeah. The schedule. Probably not doing that in 15 minutes. Generating the redirects is going to be a whole thing because I have to like. Yeah, I'm gonna have to like write a custom script for that to pull out the. I'll show you what I mean. On the current Learn with Jason site, when you go to, for example, this episode, the slug is right here. When you go to the V2 site and we go to an episode of Learn with Jason, the slug is the same, right? Like that part hasn't changed, but we're including what season, what series, and the fact that it is a series. So I have to go through and effectively load every episode, generate its old URL, which will just be /slug, and then generate this new URL in the Netlify redirects format, which is this one here, where you do the old URL and the new URL, and this sets up a 301. And you can kind of see how this is set up now, where it's doing the thing now. And so this is going to be like all V1 page redirects, and it'll be something like this. Right? So that'll be kind of how that that ends up working, is each of these will work that way. So that's the actual work that needs to be done. I'm going to write a script to do that so I don't have to do it manually, because that would take forever. And I guess I could try to do that now, but what I can definitely fix right now is the block level links on the episode. So let's go to the episode here. Let's get down to the styles, and we're specifically looking for the resources, and we've got those set as block instead of inline block. And now if I look down here and go back, and what I'm trying to avoid is, you can see like out here, I'm hitting this link. So what I want is instead to hit here. They're not pre-rendered on the dev server, so this is why pre-rendering is important, because I'm hitting the Sanity endpoints, I'm hitting Clerk, I'm hitting Mux, I'm hitting YouTube, like I'm hitting everything. But so now these don't extend, they hit there. Okay, so that was an easy one to fix. Happy about that. So we'll mark that as done. And we go to the README, mark that one as done. And we'll drop that in and we say fix links. Let's see, resource link click target fix. And for this one, I don't really need to commit anything for that. We'll just let that one kind of lie as it is. Let's deploy that. The footer blurb written, trying to write with all of you looking at me is not going to work out, I would assume. Plus, I got to decide what I'm even writing there. Like, is that about Learn with Jason? Is that I just bought a new domain. I might rebrand for this V2 site. You wanna talk domain names for 10 more minutes? So here's the challenge that I have. Learn with Jason is a show. I incorporated it as a business when what I was doing was live streaming for a job. Now it's confusing because you go to the Learn with Jason site and then you have to find the Learn with Jason series in order to watch Learn with Jason. And if you want to watch Web Dev Challenge, the series, you have to go to the Learn with Jason site to watch the Web Dev Challenge series. And so, oh, what did I just do? So what I've been kicking around is trying to come up with what's the name of like the thing that I do, and then like Learn with Jason is the series. So then, you know, it would be like the thing, and then there's Web Dev Challenge. I'm gonna rename Unspoken Tech again. I can't get it right. I can't figure out what that one's supposed to be called. Learn with Jason. Do It Anyways. This upcoming game show, which is gonna be called Leet Heat. They all live on like what's the network, right? And so I did buy a domain. It was called rootaccess.tv. And I thought about that one, and I walked away from it. And here's why. Root access is like an inside joke, right? Like you don't often deal with root access anymore. Unless you're in a very specific slice of this industry. And it's not actually about web dev, which is a lot of what I do, right? And there's no way that somebody who's not in development is going to like immediately get that root access is about code. So I bought codetv.dev. I feel like CodeTV is the right network name. Like it's very clear what that is. It's very, it feels right, you know? And when you say it, you know what it is. It's about code. It's TV, it's about code. And so that's what I'm leaning toward right now. So I did buy this. I think it's good. I don't know. What's the gut check, Chad? What do you think? So the other thing that I'm thinking about with this, and the other reason that that I'm leaning toward it, of having like a network name, is I also want to be able to put up shows that I'm not in, and I don't want that to feel weird. Like if it's called, if it's not, like if it's called Learn with Jason, it feels like it's about me. And I don't like Learn with Jason. The stream is about me, right? And that's the premise of the show. We're learning together. Web Dev Challenge, next year I'm actually not gonna dev on the show anymore because 10 or I guess 8 episodes in, I just feel like I'm not. There's only so much I can do, right? And like I think I'll come back for if we do special episodes or something where it's kind of a specific thing. But like for the most part, I'd rather see what other people come up with. Like I've come up with 8 of these apps. Like let's do more, right? And then the thought around like, I know a lot of brilliant people, and if I can build up enough support, because another big goal of this V2 site is the ability to actually like support this thing here, where people can kick in some money every month to support the channel. That's another huge one. Like that if we can build up enough revenue that way, I can start funding other people to create shows. And there are people that I know who would do a great job and who have great ideas, and they're just missing the production. And if I have, if we're like supporter funded as opposed to being sponsor funded, and it's always going to be a blend. There's probably no world where we have zero sponsorship, because it's just too expensive to do this stuff. Like the web dev challenge for next year is ringing in at about $40,000 an episode, in terms of like how much it costs to make. So it's expensive. But so anyway, so if we put it all under Code TV, then that opens up the door to, if Annie Sexton does a show, it can be published as part of the Code TV network. If Jack Harrington or like if I can talk Shondae Person into doing a show, because she's the funniest damn person on the planet. Like any of these brilliant folks who would do a great job, give them the production. Like I've got the studio, I've got the production avenue, and then we have the distribution platform for it to be supporter funded. So something very similar to like Nebula TV or Dropout TV, but specifically around devs. And that's sort of the LWJ Nebula is exactly what I'm thinking of, right? That's what's in my heart. That's the future I see. And so figuring out how we can make that possible, and part of that is future-proofing the name, because that was why I was going with LWJ Productions, is I was moving away from like Learn with Jason. But LWJ is not easy to say, doesn't mean anything. It's just a sort of an arbitrary whatever, and like that can work. Like A24, I think is a good example of that working well. It's like, I'm sure it means something, but I don't know what it means. I just know that A24 makes a lot of movies that I've enjoyed. And so this was like the first iteration, but swapping it over to codetv.dev feels more like turning it into a network, right? And then learnwithjason.dev can either be a home specifically for Learn with Jason the stream, or it can be a redirect to the Learn with Jason series page. We can make whatever choice we want there, right? And I think that's going to be a mix and match, because for something like Leet Heat, probably I would like for that to have its own website eventually, because there's going to be things like casting calls. There's going to be things like, I don't know, maybe we want behind the scenes. Maybe we want a test quiz, stuff like that, right? Because like that's how Jeopardy works, and Jeopardy is super fun. Their website is really interesting. And I imagine that probably, I don't remember which network it is, but if like they were on NBC, there's probably an NBC.com/Jeopardy that is about like the network showing the shows that it has, and then the shows, some of them don't have their own pages, some of them do, and it just depends on the show, right? So I think that's the way I want to approach it, is doing it like that. Could turn it into Learn with Jason. That's true, we could, but yeah, I don't know. I think all right. I think I'm just gonna pull the trigger on it, because I know for sure that Code TV is clear, and I'm learning. You know who inspires me on this is Leon Noel and Danny Thompson. Did y'all see that they just launched a podcast? Guess what they called it? The Programming Podcast. Like, be clear in your naming. We don't have to be clever. I think that this is like my curse. I always want to come up with like the most clever thing, and it's just like, just be simple. Tell people what you're doing, and then they can make a decision as to whether or not they want to be there. Like, they shouldn't have to parse your inside joke to get to the point. Reminder for me. and maybe a reminder for you. And now, looking at the clock, a reminder for all of us that we are out of time. So if you're in the U.S., enjoy your Thanksgiving. If you are not in the U.S. and you work with U.S. people, enjoy your quiet week. And for everybody, we will see you next Tuesday. I'm going to be back here doing another one of these. Maybe I will be able to get this all shipped before then. But if not, we'll probably be back working on this site, trying to get it across the finish line, because I really want to get it done before the end of the year. So, y'all, go check out the site. It is like the V2 is live. Help me find holes in it. Poke around in here, see what you can find. And yes, as Charles is saying, we've got a Discord. If you want to hang out on the Discord, you can hop in here. I'll drop another link there. If you're not already in it, get in there. And as always, if you want to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this, leave a comment. They are heavily favoring comments as interaction like drivers in the algorithm these days. So if you're enjoying any of the videos that I put out, the like and subscribe is extremely appreciated, but the comment makes all the difference. So do leave a little note. Tell me what you think. Call out your favorite part. I love a timestamp too, your favorite joke. That always makes me really happy. And yeah, real grateful for you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me today on this impromptu podcast about philosophy. Love you guys. See ya.